लाइन है
आपको स्क्रीन नजर आ
हाँ जी मैम, आ रही है।
ऑलराइट, okay, good morning everyone. Welcome back to the discussion on international relations and international politics. The name of your paper is Introduction to International Relations. That's what we have been covering from so many days. Today being the last lecture, I want to cover as much as possible from the last topic. We have already covered both the units. We are at the last unit, which is India's foreign policy. We had started already, and now we are going to finish it up today. Three things you have to cover within this unit. That is the determinants or the factors which led to the making of India's foreign policy, how it came into existence. With a little background, I started it yesterday. One more thing which you have to cover, which we have to cover today, is the principles and objectives. You know, how what are the values and ethics that has gone into the making of foreign policy. कैसे और किन बेसिस पे, किन सिद्धांतों पे, किन मूलों पे हमारा जो फॉरेन पॉलिसी है उसका आधार क्या है, उसको समझने की कोशिश करेंगे. ऑब्वियसली हर एक कंट्री का, एवरी नेशन हैज अ गोल, राइट? It may not be a single goal, but based on their value system, there are certain objectives they try to achieve. तो उन ऑब्जेक्टिव्स पे भी थोड़ी सी हम रोशनी डालेंगे. ऑलराइट, और अगर हमारे पास टाइम बचा तो आई हैव सम क्वेश्चंस कि किस तरह के क्वेश्चन आपके क्वेश्चन पेपर में आ सकते हैं. सो आई वुड लाइक टू टेक इट अप एज वेल. सो आई गेस without wasting any more time, we should get just started and let's see if we try to cover as much as possible. All right. Okay. So yesterday we started with the discussion क्योंकि अभी तक हम लोग जो भी पिछले 2 यूनिट्स में समझते आए हैं वो है वर्ल्ड स्टेज में, वर्ल्ड एरिना में ग्लोबली इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस कैसा रहा. एंड because it's a new subject academically, the history is not very long. तो इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस हम जब समझने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं यहाँ पर, यूजुअली वी बिगिन विद फर्स्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर, क्योंकि उससे पहले की जो एक्सरसाइज है उसमें इतना ग्लोबल इंटरेक्शन नहीं था. ऑलराइट, द रिलेशनशिप बिटवीन टू स्टेट्स वाज वेरी मिनिमल. सो वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 से हम बेसिकली देखते हैं कि बहुत ज्यादा चेंजेस जो है और डेफिनेटिव चेंजेस जो है वो देखने को मिलते हैं दो कंट्रीज या दो स्टेट्स के बीच में. दैट्स व्हाई वी हैव रिस्ट्रिक्टेड आवर मॉड्यूल्स इन अंडरस्टैंडिंग द हिस्ट्री ऑफ इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस, राइट, बिगिनिंग विद वर्ल्ड वॉर 1. नॉट मच अबाउट वर्ल्ड वॉर 1, बट एक्चुअली एकेडमिकली स्पीकिंग वी हैव बीन कवरिंग पोस्ट वर्ल्ड वॉर 1 कि क्या क्या चेंजेस होते हैं, किस तरह के अप्रोचेस देखने को मिलते हैं. देन वी हैव वर्ल्ड वॉर 2, देन वी हैव कोल्ड वॉर ईरा, एंड देन नाउ वी आर डिस्कसिंग पर्टिकुलरली इंडिया का किस तरह से रोल रहा है इन सब इवेंट्स के दौरान, वेदर इंडिया वाज एक्चुअली अ पार्टी टू इट और नॉट, एंड आल्सो इन बेसिस ऑन दीस इवेंट्स इंडिया ने अपनी जब इंडिपेंडेंस के बाद फॉरेन पॉलिसी बनाई, हाउ इट्स गोइंग टू फर्दर मेंटेन इट्स रिलेशनशिप विद अदर कंट्रीज ऑफ द वर्ल्ड. ऑलराइट, सो आई इंट्रोड्यूस दिस टू यू दैट द इंडियन फॉरेन पॉलिसी का जो एक्सरसाइज है, मेकिंग है, दैट डेट्स बैक टू 1932 इंडियन नेशनल कांग्रेस में. राम मनोहर लोहिया सेक्रेटरी थे और चेयरमैन थे जवाहरलाल नेहरू जब फॉरेन पॉलिसी डिपार्टमेंट की स्थापना हुई. एंड दैट्स व्हेन दे डिसाइडेड दैट एवरी कंट्री इन ऑर्डर टू एग्जिस्ट पीसफुली amidst all other countries, we have to have a very strong foreign policy, right? So this we have already done yesterday, so I'm not going to go back to this. And now quickly we'll see the evolution of India's foreign policy, and then we will move to the determinants, right? So what is the evolution, how India's foreign policy comes into existence, क्या है उसका बेस, तो वो समझना बहुत जरूरी है. इससे पहले कि हम फैक्टर्स और पॉइंट्स में जो चीजें हैं उनको समझें, ये समझना जरूरी है कि इसकी शुरुआत कहां से होती है. सो ड्यूरिंग द लॉन्ग इयर्स ऑफ ब्रिटिश रूल, नाउ आई एम रीडिंग फ्रॉम द पेपर, एज यू कैन सी इट सेज एवोल्यूशन ऑफ इंडिया's foreign policy. So during the long years of British rule in India, the colonial government did not hesitate to push India in the vortex of global politics in order to serve the national interest. आप जानते हैं कि ब्रिटेन ने कहीं ना कहीं इंडिया को एक इकोनॉमिक ट्रांजैक्शन, वर्ल्ड इकोनॉमिक ट्रांजैक्शन में कहीं ना कहीं पुश किया, चाहे वो स्पाइस ट्रेड हो, हैंडीक्राफ्ट्स हो, या यहाँ से खनिज और कच्चा माल ले जाके तैयार माल वापस लाके बेचना. तो दिस होल ट्रेडिंग बिजनेस में इंडिया को पुश करने वाला कोई और नहीं, ग्रेट ब्रिटेन ही था, चाहे वो उनके अपने प्रॉफिट के लिए ही हो. लेकिन knowingly or unknowingly they introduced capitalism or capitalist economy, free trade capitalism and all these to India at that time, jab hum we were colonized by them. All right, in other words, despite not having much at stake in the working of international relations during the first half of the 20th century, India was invariably made a party in the international relations for the purpose of strengthening British position purely. उसमें हमारा कोई निजी इंटरेस्ट नहीं था. The interesting fact in this context is that quite often the professed position of British rulers articulated on behalf of India appeared to be in contravention with the conventional wisdom and philosophical moorings that have characterized India's vision. अब इंडिया जब आजाद हुआ तो बहुत चीजें सामने आई और पहली बार हमने रियलाइज किया कि हम जिस तरह से अपने आप को या अपने समुदाय को देखते हैं या इंडिया के वैल्यू सिस्टम को देखते हैं, इट्स वेरी मच डिफरेंट फ्रॉम व्हाट ब्रिटिशर्स हैड प्रीच्ड अस at that time. So Congress appeared convinced that we must create a department of foreign affairs and organizational structure में ही अगर हम इसको बनाएंगे तो जो भी issues and challenges international community में हम face करेंगे आगे चलकर फ्यूचर में, then we'll be able to tackle it. So that's how this was the first step when they established this department of foreign affairs as it was called at that time under Nehru and Lohia, right? So with the strengthening of national movement, इसी बीच में क्या हुआ, national movement भी अपना, क्योंकि हम 32 की बात कर रहे हैं, प्री इंडिपेंडेंस की बात कर रहे हैं, तो नेशनल मूवमेंट अपने जोरों शोरों पे चल रहा था. इंडिपेंडेंस की स्वतंत्रता की बात जो है वो अपने जोरों शोरों पे थी. ऑलराइट, so greater involvement of Congress in running the affairs of the country, the stage appeared set for enhanced role of the country. So कहीं ना कहीं इंडिया जो है अपने आप को assert करता जा रहा था continuously, more and more talking about independence and more and more अपना opinion भी रख रहा था. All right, so all this can be seen as major participation जो है इंडिया का, वो एक बहुत all this can be seen as India's growing role and probably asserting itself in the world arena कि हम लोग भी हैं, don't see is merely ruled by Britain, but we have our own we have our own personality kind of stuff. Okay, so इसका एक एग्जांपल ये है कि सैन फ्रांसिस्को के डेलिब्रेशंस में फाइनलाइजेशन और यूएन चार्टर जब साइन हो रहा था, तो उसके दौरान सेकंड वर्ल्ड वॉर जब एंड हुआ 1945 में, when UN charter was being signed, India was the only one in amongst the colonial countries which was invited to sign that charter, which means India अपना एक मार्क ऑलरेडी बना चुका था by 1945, even इंडिपेंडेंस से पहले. ऑलराइट, सो टुवर्ड्स द एंड ऑफ colonial rule, यानी कि हम 40s की बात करें तो जवाहरलाल नेहरू was made the interim prime minister जब हम इंडिपेंडेंस चाहते थे. His foreign policy perspectives became very sharp and categorical. So initial years after independence also, his thoughts and perspectives were very, very important in shaping our foreign policy at that time. Right? So he tried to synchronize basic elements of national interest with the pressing issues of international politics of the time in such a way that international interests appeared hyphenated to more important challenges such as end of colonialism, imperialism, racism, apart from non-alignment from the power blocks. So basically, अगर आप recollect करें तो we have done our idealist and realist theory. तो idealist theory क्या है? एक moralist theory है जिनका पहला और first priority है to establish peace in the world. You have to establish friendly relation. Everybody should cooperate with each other because we want peace. ये World War I के बाद idealism की शुरुआत हुई. In contrast, realism की भी शुरुआत हुई थी. Realism ने क्या बोला कि realism ये realize करता है और realist thinkers ये realize करते हैं that all the countries they strive to protect their own national interest. So जब हमारी foreign policy बन रही थी तो हम लोगों ने और rather नेहरू ने ये कोशिश की कि कहीं ना कहीं हम अपने national interest को protect करना जरूर चाहेंगे but not at the cost of being rude or arrogant to others. So उन्होंने हमारी foreign policy में कुछ क्लॉजेस ऐसे डाल दिए जिसके द्वारा ये क्लियर हो जाए दैट वी आर नॉट एंटी सोशल ए एंड बी हम नेशनल इंटरेस्ट के साथ साथ दूसरे जो ग्लोबल इंटरेस्ट है जैसे कि एंटी कोलोनियलिज्म हो गया, उपनिवेशवाद का बहिष्कार करना, इंपीरियलिज्म के अगेंस्ट बोलना, रेसिज्म यानी रंगभेद के अगेंस्ट बोलना, ये सब भी हम लोग जरूर करेंगे और जब नीड आए तो हम we will stand by with our friends. तो ये कुछ चीजें हैं जो हमारी फॉरेन पॉलिसी को इट मार्क्स अस डिफरेंट बिकॉज वी डिड नॉट टेक अ पर्टिकुलर स्टैंड बट रादर वी बिलीव कि इन दोनों का फ्यूजन हो सकता है. ना पूरी तरह से रियलिस्ट बनने की जरूरत है whereby we become selfish and only talk about interest और ना ही पूरी तरह से आइडियलिज्म को लिया जिसमें कि हम बिल्कुल फ्लूइड हो जाए और then again we'll be exposed to others and they can rule us or they can exploit us. All right, then just moving ahead. So Indian freedom movement का जो रिलेशन है quickly we will see how it has contributed to foreign policy values. Indian freedom movement के दौरान हम लोगों ने जब साथ में संघर्ष किया तो बहुत चीजें सीखी, कुछ चीजें ब्रिटिशर्स से सीखी, कुछ चीजें अपने से ओल्ड सिविलाइजेशनल वैल्यूज से सीखी, कुछ उस दौरान की सोच और एक्सपीरियंस से सीखी. तो उन सारी तमाम चीजों का जो सार है वो हमारी फॉरेन पॉलिसी में वैल्यूज के रूप में देखने को मिलता है. Let's just quickly see how and what are those values. So the philosophy, culture and history and heritage of our country has obviously had a direct impact on our foreign policy. All right. Right. So British colonial rule did shape India's worldview in several important ways. Okay. कैसे? First, leaders of the freedom struggle perceived India's own freedom as being intrinsic part of the freedom of all colonized. एक ऐसा टाइम था जब India realized that perhaps it was representing all the underdeveloped states. So जो उनसे भी थोड़ा सा और less developed countries थी, उनका leadership assume किया India ने, and it strongly believed that अगर हम लोगों ने freedom ले ली, we will provide or we'll set an example for other countries which are underdeveloped in say Latin America, Africa and Asia. जहाँ के जो colonial people हैं, वो हम लोगों से साहस लेकर they will talk about freedom. So British colonial rule के बीच में, freedom struggle के बीच में, importance of freedom, हमारे freedom movement के बीच में बहुत important role था इस freedom movement का to understand the importance of freedom and also talking against colonialism and racism. All right. Secondly, Indian freedom movement was based on the values of ahimsa, satyagraha and swadeshi. All right. ये थंब रूल थे हमारे freedom movement के and foreign policy भी हमारा देखने को मिलता है based on these values. Third point है that India's freedom struggle was a very popular movement. The struggle for freedom had brought people from different castes, linguistic groups, communities, and then they were together. The partition of Bengal 1905 में जो हुआ and they agitated the masses. Leaders like Aurobindo Ghosh, Bal Gangadhar Tilak, Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi, they viewed freedom movement as popular movement. So over decades, millions participated in protests and resisted the repression and brutalities of British administration. कहने का मतलब ये है since it was a popular movement, we also believed in unity. So unity in diversity, ये आज से अभी से नहीं, बहुत पहले से जो है ये realization थी इंडिया को that since we have always been together, we have to stick together. So despite having different castes, language, communities, religious groups, etc., so many diversities, but India had always pre-independence and post-independence maintained that unity and that balance within itself. All right. Fourthly, जो चीज़ हमें Indian freedom movement के दौरान देखने को मिलती है वो ये है कि out of this long struggle emerged certain values, which the entire nation continues to cherish even today. क्या है वो values? These values are equality, non-discrimination, क्योंकि हम इनका शिकार हो चुके थे, so we utmost to care कि हम आगे से इन चीज़ों के द्वारा किसी से ना exploit होंगे और ना किसी को exploit करेंगे. So equality, non-discrimination, freedom, social justice, सामाजिक न्याय, and development for all people and all the nations was something which we understood very, very clearly. Mahatma Gandhi had witnessed racism and apartheid when he was in South Africa. He was witnessing racial discrimination and inhuman conditions. So all of these values came out of the freedom movement and they became the guiding principles of India's foreign policy. So जब foreign policy makers they were preparing the foreign policy thing, they kept in mind in the background these were the ideas कि हम इस situation में हैं और इस situation को best tackle करते हुए हम अपनी नींव रख रहे हैं. All right. So these were the circumstances and perceptions which made Mahatma Gandhi and others also realize that this India's struggle is being a part of the larger struggle of all the colonized and subjugated people across the globe. So we are particularly interested, proclaimed Nehru, in the emancipation of all the colonial and dependent countries and peoples. It was not only us who should develop, but all the people who are underdeveloped or backward in the world. All right. So he highlighted yet another principle, which of India, that principle which remains a central norm of India's foreign policy since independence. क्या बोला उन्होंने? He said, we repudiate utterly the Nazi doctrine of racialism in whatever form it may be practiced. So the worldview developed during the world freedom movement was not one of isolation but of active engagement on all grounds of equality, freedom and sovereignty. So Nehru laid another principle. ये तो racialism की बात हुई, तो उन्होंने नाजी जर्मनी का भी बहुत बहिष्कार किया and अपने principle of foreign policy में he said that India will not sever all of its link with the British Commonwealth. They will maintain that link with everyone. So India always had close defense ties with Great Britain in that sense. All right. Okay, now we are moving ahead with the determinants. क्या factors थे, those who were responsible or which led to the making of our foreign policy? Let's just take a look. Okay. We can skip this. You can read it in the book as well, or maybe I can pass on the material and you can read from it. Okay, so what are the major determinants? इसमें कुछ कुल मिला के 8 factors आते हैं, 8 determinants हैं. Let's quickly take a look. Now, geographical factors. Geographical factors refer to the shape, size, geophysical peculiarities, resource endowments, and surrounding geopolitical environment of a country. इनको मिला के हम geographical factors बोलते हैं. That means India is a fairly big country, having 7th largest landmass in the world and in southernmost South Asia. So having almost all sorts of geographical formations, weather, climate, water bodies, flora, fauna, सब कुछ है हमारे पास. She gets a lot of leverage by nature to play a crucial role in international affairs. And that's why India has become a very, very popular popular nation, not only for investment but also the strategic location which can provide certain advantage. So natural boundaries on many sides of the country provide its veritable defense from inimical forces. Strategic location of India is further strengthened by the long coastline. We have a very long coastline that surrounds the country from east, west, and south. Apart from the north, which is landlocked, east, west, and south we have long coastlines. So they make her pivot for global politics because Indian Ocean में आना जाना and it's a kind of a gateway. It provides a gateway. All right. So access हो जाता है बहुत लोगों का इस area में if they are friends with India. So thus geographical factors place India in a very unenviable position to carve out an eminent role. So that's why India can act a little pricey because it is at a very strategic location. Another important implication of the geographical factors relates to the neighboring countries that have been ordained for her on account of her physical location. Quite obviously, neighboring ambience of a country plays a very significant role in affording her a comprehensive part in the wider international relations. आपके पड़ोसी ताल्लुकात कहीं ना कहीं responsible होते हैं your whole presence in the world. So that means though India is endowed by nature to play a very vital role in southern, western, and southeast parts of Asia, in practice such a role has been circumscribed by not so friendly relationship with the neighborhood. Apart from having wars with two prominent neighbors like China and Pakistan, India has also had a kind of a love-hate relationship with many of her neighbors, right? So her major preoccupation of India's foreign policy at probably all times has been maintaining friendly relations with all her neighbors so that if it's permitted some leg space to make its presence felt. So this is a constant struggle with India that it does not enjoy a very friendly neighborhood. That's why, despite its geographical location, which is so good, it has to keep asserting itself and fighting its own domestic battles with the neighbors so that it can upkeep its reputation across the world. Next is economic factors. क्या है वो economic factors which makes India so conducive and उनकी foreign policy किस लिए important रहती है? So economic factors include endowment of a country that is natural resources, जैसे कि metals, minerals, fossil fuels, fertile land, water, human resources, and use of all these endowments to achieve and maintain a high rate of economic growth. हमारी country के पास abundance में है. Though economic factors have always been the foundational determinant of any country's foreign policy, the significance of these factors have attained the critical proportions in the wake of privatization, liberalization, and globalization. Globalization, liberalization, and privatization आने के बाद importance of all these economic factors, all these natural resources, they have become significantly, they have increased. Okay, so resource exploitation has reached unprecedented rates in the wake of economic globalization. वो आप जानते ही हैं. Besides, India has a favorable demographic profile because it can provide with cheap and manual labor. In this context, India happens to be one of the fortunate countries to be blessed with vast variety of natural and human resources. Barring a few massive imports, जैसे कि fossil fuels, uranium, and precious metals such as gold, India does have sufficient, if not abundant, endowments. All right, बहुत कम चीजें हैं जो बहुत ज़्यादा मात्रा में हमें import करने की जरूरत पड़ती है. Otherwise, relatively, India is self-sufficient. After independence, India adopted the mixed economy model of development. Okay, so where state regulated private business with license and permits, state control and regulations had a stifling effect on the private sector. As a result, for a long period of time, economic growth rate was very low and invariably lower than the annual rate of population growth. So ironically, Indian policymakers seem to be content with this low growth and overall socialistic milieu of the time. So in 1978, noted economist Raj Krishna described this national contentment with low growth rate as Hindu rate of growth. Slow. So initially, due to her inadequacy in food production, its foreign policy dynamics was marred by weak diplomacy of Western countries. For a very long time, India suffered this. आज की डेट में आप सुन रहे हैं food grains are in surplus, but for a very long time, India also suffered from hunger and weak diplomacy जो चल रहा था Western countries में, उसका शिकार India भी हुई थी. For a very long time, India remained predominantly an exporter of raw material than finished goods, obviously under British, which compromised her ability to leverage meaningful relation with the developing countries. So she has been using aid diplomacy to win support of many Afro-Asian countries since then for her cause on international forums. Indian technocrats and wider diaspora, a product of Indian economic growth story, have also played a crucial role. So overall, economy has been good and bad both, as a contributing factor in our foreign policy. Historical and cultural factors क्या हैं? Historical cultures set the background in which foreign policy of any country gets shaped. So India is one of the few countries in the world with ancient civilization. All right. So we have a very rich history and cultural legacy. So at the same time, around 200 years of colonial rule, a long and checkered history of national movement also provided valuable inputs to the shaping of Indian foreign policy. All right. So cultural legacies of India are inherited not only from recent history, like British history, but also from hoary past. All right. So now the guiding principles of India's foreign policy, which we have taken from national movement, we can say anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism, anti-apartheid. Apartheid is a practice of racialism. Solidarity with the cause of Afro-Asian nations and support for the United Nations Charter. ये सब हमने during the national movement we have probably enshrined in our foreign policies for the future. As far as our history is concerned, we have always followed the ideal of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. That is, world is my home. So in that sense, world is my family, world is my home has always been very close to Indian foreign policy as well, where we always believe that we have to behave friendly with everyone. Okay, and also the Gandhian paradigms of Satyagraha, Ahimsa, and Swadeshi. So these are few cultural ideals which have contributed in making the foreign policy. हमारे foreign policy में इनकी भी झलकियां नजर आती हैं. और क्या है? Domestic value. Domestic value means general circumstances and peculiar settings within a country that leave their imprint on the shaping of foreign policy. ऐसी क्या चीजें थी जो हमारे foreign policy में भी देखने को मिलती हैं, जो हमारे domestic circumstances और situation में थे. For instance, having the second largest population of Muslims in the world has made it mandatory for Indian foreign policy to maintain cordial relations with the Arab and other countries that have substantial Muslim population. So cultural diversity or unique जितने भी उनके existence थे, different ethnicities or religion or language has made it richer. That's why हम हर तरह की जो countries हैं उनके साथ कोई ना कोई similar point पे touch कर पाते हैं, and it's able to maintain a certain accord with them. So there are other countries which have substantial Muslim population that includes Pakistan, Bangladesh, and Maldives. So Islamic dimension, as you may call it, has enabled India to develop a fairly in-depth understanding of the so-called Muslim world. So because we also have a sizable population. Second is politics of Tamil Nadu has always remained a determining factor in India's relationship with Sri Lanka. So similarly, Bengali Bhadralok of West Bengal, that acts as the bedrock of India's relationship with Bangladesh. Situation in Kashmir becomes the single most crucial issue determining relation between India and Pakistan. Nepal and Bhutan surely carry distinct place in cultural landscape and Indian population in various ways. Right? So you can see that our inner domestic existence or domestic diversity has also somewhere given birth to our foreign policies with these countries like Pakistan or China or Sri Lanka, immediate neighbors, Bangladesh and other Arab countries as we have mentioned above. So apart from the specific ways in which the social, cultural, ethnic or religious or linguistic and language basis पे aspects of India determine her foreign policy, there are also a number of contextual dimensions of domestic value that go to the cast their impact on shaping of India's current external affairs. All right. So on the issues where there exists consensus in the country, it becomes quite easy for the government to pursue a definite line of argument. But the issues over which dissent is there or discordant voices are raised, it becomes difficult for government to pursue any policy. For instance, a major cause of India's discomfiture in its misadventure in Sri Lanka in 1987 was the opposition of that move by the people of Tamil Nadu. So in short, domestic value has always been very, very important in this and decisive as far as as far as any country's foreign policy is concerned. So fifth important factor or determinant would be the persona of the leadership. Now, leadership has always been very, very important. It plays a vital role in shaping a country's foreign policy. This, of course, is a very clear point in itself that we talk about leadership. If you talk about leadership globally, we have Prime Minister Winston Churchill, and Winston Churchill has provided a very strong leadership in the world. So on the contrary, in India, we have very weak personalities also whose decisions have become very devastating for their own countries, as well as for India. We have very weak prime ministers like PP Singh, where India's war against terrorism was comprehensively weakened by the release of a number of Kashmiri terrorists, and likewise, we can say that as far as foreign policy of India is concerned, we have seen some very strong personalities like Jawaharlal Nehru and Indira Gandhi for her absolute leadership. Everybody had a very different way of leading, and due to their leadership role, sometimes we had to pay a price also. We lost wars to our neighbors, and our foreign policy has been compromised. And now you see we have a very strong leader in today's world, and that's why our foreign policy today and our relationships with the changing dynamics of the world, our relationships with other nations have become quite strong because we have a quite strong leadership in today's India. All right. Then ideological predictions. Ideological predictions means विचारधारा. जिस तरह की विचारधारा आपके बिलीफ सिस्टम में होता है, आपकी कंट्री में होता है, वही विचारधारा जो है वो कहीं ना कहीं रिफ्लेक्ट होती है आपके फॉरेन पॉलिसी में. सो जब हमारी फॉरेन पॉलिसी की शुरुआत हुई विद नेहरू, हमारी विचारधारा में कहीं ना कहीं सोशलिस्ट या साम्यवादी झलकियां देखने को मिलती थी, क्योंकि बहुत स्ट्रांगली हम इक्वालिटी और जस्टिस में बिलीव करते थे. धीरे धीरे हम देख रहे हैं इंदिरा गांधी से होते हुए हम जब आगे बढ़े तो वी हैव फाउंड दैट विद ग्लोबलाइजेशन वी हैव अडॉप्टेड टू पूंजीवाद यानी कैपिटलिस्ट कोड्स एज वेल. एंड आज के डेट में वी आर ऑल्सो वी कैन से दैट वी आर अ वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग लिबरल डेमोक्रेटिक कंट्री. वी बिलीव इन डेमोक्रेसी, वी बिलीव इन कैपिटलिज्म एंड वी बिलीव इन दैट काइंड ऑफ ग्रोथ. सो नाउ आवर आइडियोलॉजिकल जो सोच है वो सोशलिस्ट से हटके कहीं ना कहीं कैपिटलिस्ट की तरफ ही जा रही है, एंड दैट्स व्हाई आवर फॉरेन पॉलिसी ऑफ टुडे इज वेरी डिफरेंट फ्रॉम व्हाट वी हैड बिफोर 50 to 60 years. सो आइडियोलॉजी और विचारधारा का एक बहुत डायरेक्ट कनेक्शन है आपके कंट्री के फॉरेन पॉलिसी के साथ. सेवेंथ इज इंटरनेशनल सिनेरियो. जिस तरह का भी सीन जो है वो ग्लोब में चल रहा होता है, उसका डायरेक्टली असर जो है वो आपकी फॉरेन पॉलिसी पे देखने को मिलता है. सो अपार्ट फ्रॉम इंटरनल डायनामिक्स ऑफ एनी कंट्री, एक्सटर्नल और इंटरनेशनल सिनेरियो इट प्लेज अ वेरी वाइटल रोल. ऑलराइट, इट मे नॉट बी इक्वल रोल बट ऑल्सो अ डिटरमाइनिंग फैक्टर. सो व्हाइल डोमेस्टिक फैक्टर्स दे हेल्प इन फॉर्मुलेशन ऑफ अ वेरी प्रोएक्टिव फॉरेन पॉलिसी, किस के साथ हमें रखना है, किसके साथ कैसा रखना है, किससे अच्छा रखना है, किससे थोड़ा कम रखना है, दैट काइंड ऑफ थिंग. बट इंटरनेशनल सिनेरियो प्रेजेंट्स अ वेरी बिग सिचुएशन टू अ कंट्री एंड इट प्रोवाइड्स अ सर्टेन चैलेंज दैट हाउ टू रिएक्ट इन गिवन सिचुएशन. All right. So the impact of international relations or international factors is so profound on foreign policy that it would not be wrong to argue that quite often what a country proposes on the domestic front of its external relations gets disposed by international scenario. Only a very few countries in the world, like the superpowers or economic or military giants like US, Russia, China, France, etc., they somehow get away or they get some leeway to have a foreign policy that influences the march of international relations rather than getting influenced by that. सिर्फ कुछ ही बहुत सारे जिनको हम विकसित देश कहते हैं, developed countries कहते हैं, probably they only their politics somehow they impact other countries. Otherwise, जो भी सिनेरियो होता है उसका impact directly countries पे देखा गया है, and also India is not far. So determining role of international scenario on India's foreign policy has been quite apparent from day one. Obviously, we can't live in isolation. So as pointed out earlier, Nehru would surely have gone for a closer relation with Soviet Union given his apparent love for socialist pattern of life. But the dynamics of Cold War decisively forced him to go for policy of non-alignment. So ये international relation का एक example यहाँ पे इन लोगों ने दिया है कि भाई जब हम शुरुआती दौर पे क्योंकि हमारी विचारधाराओं की सहमति, हमारी लीडरशिप की विचारधाराओं की सहमति सोशलिस्ट पैटर्न के साथ थी, तो हम ऑब्वियसली सोवियत के साथ या यूएसएसआर के साथ देते. लेकिन क्योंकि वहीं पे शीत युद्ध यानी कोल्ड वॉर भी चल रहा था जिससे हमें ब्लॉक पॉलिटिक्स नजर आ रहा था, एंड वी डिड नॉट वांट एनी काइंड ऑफ एनिमोसिटी बिकॉज़ हम तभी भी वर एंड स्टिल वी आर अ डेवलपिंग कंट्री, सो वी कुड नॉट अफोर्ड एनी एनिमोसिटी. सो नेहरू केम अप विद द आइडिया ऑफ non-alignment, a policy of non-alignment. So we maintain equal distance from both the blocks. We are not saying we are with you and we are not saying we are with you. So we have rather adopted a middle path, that is non-alignment. Okay, just to maintain peace and non-violence. All right. Okay, and last would be some minor determinants apart from these domestic value, geographical location, economic factors. हाँ, कुछ ऐसे छोटे मोटे भी determinants हैं जो अपने आप में शायद बहुत ज़्यादा contributing factor ना हो foreign policy बनाने के लिए, but they are not that small to be dismissed. वो क्या हैं देख लेते हैं. A number of minor factors are also there which need to be recognized as vertical influences in the making of country's foreign policy. To begin with, political and statutory institutions. इनका हमेशा एक बहुत बड़ा रोल रहा है. So rejection of American entry into the League of Nations by Senate is one classical case in that country. Pakistan Army's role in determining the country policy towards India is not a hidden fact. In India also quite a few political institutions such as Parliament play a significant role in strengthening foreign policy measures, as has been done in the case of India US civil nuclear deal. India was not a signatory in CTBT 1996. So from then onwards, this kind of strain has been experienced. और इसका who's responsible for that? The कुछ ऐसी व्यवस्थाएं और संस्थाएं और institutions we call them, those who are behind these decisions. So ये एग्जाम्पल था पार्लियामेंट का, जैसे संसद है वो बहुत जगह पे बहुत सारी अपनी पॉलिसी से बहुत प्रेशर डालता है और रादर एक चेंज लाता है हमारे फॉरेन पॉलिसी में. सो इंडिया यूएस का डिस्कॉर्ड कहीं ना कहीं चलता रहता है एज फार एज न्यूक्लियर डील इज कंसर्न. एट द सेम टाइम second would be role of public opinion. Now public opinion has been significantly gained a lot of importance in past few decades. Now public opinion making or unmaking of a foreign policy initiative is also to be appreciated. The impact of public opinion attains greater significance in democratic countries where government has to be responsive to the public sentiments in running the affairs of the country, right? So if a government shows arrogance in deciding in favor of a policy defying the public opinion, several reprisals from the masses is also accompanied by probable failure of such a policy. This has been seen largely in the case of Sri Lanka. So Sri Lanka में जो सब हुआ और हो रहा था उसका कहीं ना कहीं डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट लोगों के बीच में भी देखा गया और लोगों का एरोगेंस और अप्रोच जो है वो इलेक्शन में भी देखा गया. ऑलराइट, नाउ थर्ड थिंग इज one is institutions like parliament, second is public opinion, and third minor determinant would be party system. Now party system in India also impacts its foreign policy to a very large extent. In days of dominance, जो CPI है, Communist Party of India, that was in the political scene and very prominently present. So Indian foreign policy was never permitted to go overtly against China क्योंकि CPM का ideological साझेदारी चाइना के साथ थी. So we never came out in open against China. So pressure of the political parties from Tamil Nadu also always influenced government's policy towards Sri Lanka. Similarly, so this had been seen before a few years though. As far as now if you look at the think tanks which have emerged, the role of the think tanks which have emerged, that could contribute to be another way of exerting pressure on government on a particular issue. So pressure groups and think tanks, they are also equally responsible for creating certain for influencing the decisions of the makers of foreign policy. So whenever your foreign policy is not one document जो कि बन गया और हम उसी तरह से चल रहे हैं. Obviously जिस तरह से the dynamics in international arena are changing, so is our foreign policy towards each and every country. So naturally how we maintain our relations also is shaped or determined by these factors and many more. So these factors contribute to a larger role rather than the ideological factors for that matter. All right, okay, so right, so moving ahead, this is complexity in the working of determinants. This is just to tell you कि ये जो decision making process होता है, जो final decision लिया जाता है, ये this is not a very very easy process. Alright, so apart from a general framework, they have to take into consideration a lot of inputs. और उसमें ये जो minor determinants हैं, ये कहीं ना कहीं बहुत ज़्यादा important हो जाते हैं. जैसे कश्मीर इशू है, यूनाइटेड नेशंस में सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल का इशू है, या determinants they work for resisting a particular decision to be taken. For example, during the Cold War, end of the Cold War, the imperatives of the policy of non-alignment necessitated that the country should either keep equal distance with both the superpowers or become friendlier. So major determinants जो है foreign policy के, वो उस तरह से किए गए जिसमें US और USSR हम दोनों को नाराज ना करें. इसमें हमारा बहुत सारा नुकसान भी हुआ है. Alright, so कॉम्प्लेक्स हो जाती हैं चीजें, ज्यादा मुश्किल हो जाती हैं. People say had it been like हम straight away अगर अलायंस कर जाते ईस्टर्न अलायंस की तरफ या वेस्टर्न अलायंस की तरफ, so probably nature of foreign policy would have been less complex. However, it's not always possible. As far as Kashmir issue is concerned, obviously this has been a very complex pattern. If you study the pattern, you will understand that it is not a matter of day or night that you take a decision. It has been an issue which is prolonged, and also because of the interference of some other institutions as well, it has been difficult. Though India has always believed in bilateral talks, but it has been difficult to upkeep that as well. So just to tell you that having so many neighbors, having so much natural resources and everything in abundance, India is also not a very small country, and it's a huge network to maintain. So that's what makes the foreign policy of India a very complex one. Okay, so these were the 8 determinant या basic factors which leads to our making of our foreign policy. क्या क्या influence करता है. अब हम जाते हैं principles यानी क्या ऐसे मूल तत्व है, क्या values हैं जो हमारे foreign policy में देखने को मिलते हैं. बहुत सारे ऐसे principles होंगे, लेकिन कुछ guiding principles हैं जो कि हम quickly will take it up. जैसे कि सबसे important policy of non-alignment की शुरुआत जैसे कि हमने बताया आपको पहले भी, ये जो सोच है ये कोल्ड वॉर के दौरान उभरी हुई सोच है. दो हम लोग उस समय सोशलिस्ट थिंकिंग में बिलीव रखते थे that we wanted to nationalize everything, there has to be equality, there has to be fair game, rights for everyone, but at the same time we also realized that being a capitalist country हम US को मात नहीं दे सकते. We can't afford animosity since we were a growing economy. So India, Egypt and Indonesia at that point of time declared themselves non-aligned. किसी के साथ भी अलाइन नहीं करना. ये non-alignment movement जो है उसमें बहुत सारे न्यूली कंट्रीज ने ज्वाइन किया. They evolved this policy. All these 3 countries basically are the founding members of non-alignment movement. And non-alignment movement basically एक safety valve की तरह यूज किया गया. बहुत लोग इस तरह से देखते हैं कि हम we could not escape the situation that the world is divided into 2 blocks, and either of the military block के साथ दुश्मनी लेना means हमारे अपने ऊपर खतरा आना. So our autonomy and our independent foreign policy making to earn freedom from colonial masters, we had to maintain good faith with both those blocks. So policy of non-alignment जो है वो सबसे important principle जो है India's foreign policy का सबसे important है non-alignment. Non-alignment का मतलब क्या है? Non-alignment means attempt by a nation to keep itself aloof from the military blocks. जो military blocks western alliance और eastern alliance के रूप में उभर के आई थी, उनसे equidistance maintain करना. It means trying to view the things as far as possible not from military point of view, though that has to come in sometimes, but we must have independent view. So एक ये बहुत जरूरी step इसलिए था that non-alignment जो है ये एक बताने का जरिया था that we are an independent country. We cannot be influenced by your power. Okay, so power, whether military or political, cannot bias, cannot mold us. और ये जो नॉन अलाइनमेंट का जो आइडिया है, इट मेड अस मोर स्ट्रॉन्गर इन द वर्ल्ड एरिना, एंड इट इज स्टिल वेरी वेरी रेलेवेंट एंड सिग्निफिकेंट स्टिल कंटिन्यूज. इट्स वेरी इंटैक्ट. वी आर स्टिल, जब हमें कुछ गलत लगता है तो हम यूएस को भी बोलते हैं, जब हमें गलत लगता है हम रशिया को भी बोलते हैं, जब हमें सही लगता है वी हेल्प रशिया, जब हमें सही लगता है वी गो फॉर यूएस बिकॉज ऑफ आवर नॉन अलाइनमेंट पॉलिसी. सो दिस इज बाय फार द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट प्रिंसिपल. ओके, सेकंड प्रिंसिपल इज ऑफ पंचशील. पंचशील जो है वो एक फिलोसॉफिकल साइन पोस्ट है और कह सकते हैं आप कि हमारे फॉरेन पॉलिसी का एक बेडरॉक है. पंचशील का मतलब होता है, एज यू कैन रीड, आई हैव हाइलाइटेड दिस, पंचशील मींस अ सेट ऑफ 5 प्रिंसिपल्स. पंचशील 5 प्रिंसिपल्स ऑफ पीसफुल कोएक्सिस्टेंस. इंडिया ऑलवेज बिलीव्ड that we must coexist with our neighbors. So these principles were enunciated in the treaty that India signed with China to set the trajectory of relations between the 2 countries. Basically, it was signed between India and China. Okay, so what are the 5 elements of the doctrine? They are: 1, respect for each other's sovereignty and territorial integrity. Second, non-aggression towards each other. Third, non-interference in the internal affairs of each other. Fourth, mutually beneficial relations based on equality. And fifth and last one is peaceful coexistence. However, ये जो पंचशील है उस समय हिंदी चीनी भाई भाई अगर आपको याद हो ये स्लोगन बहुत उभरा था एंड ये पंचशील जो है हमने तो इसकी बहुत रिस्पेक्ट की लेकिन अनफॉर्चुनेटली आवर नेबर चाइना नेवर रिस्पेक्टेड इट एंड टिल डेट आल्सो वी बिलीव दैट ये पंचशील जो है कई बार ओवरराइड किया है चाइना ने और अभी तक करते आ रहे हैं. यू सी इन द केस ऑफ आवर नॉर्थ ईस्टर्न बाउंड्रीज दे हैव ऑलवेज क्रिएटेड प्रॉब्लम्स फॉर अस. दे नेवर रिस्पेक्टेड द टेरिटोरियल इंटीग्रिटी. सो ये जो पंचशील है उस समय के लिए इट वाज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट. बट पोस्ट लिबरलाइजेशन ग्लोबलाइजेशन वी सी दैट चाइना हैज इवेडेड एंड अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स बट स्टिल वी मेंटेन दैट पंचशील इज अ फिलोसॉफिकल फाउंडेशन. हमारा मूल है हमारा प्रिंसिपल है एंड ऑन दैट बेसिस वी फॉर्मुलेट आवर फॉरेन पॉलिसी. Third philosophy in our foreign policy is or principle is anti-colonialism, anti-imperialism and anti-apartheid. उपनिवेशवाद के अगेंस्ट और साम्राज्यवाद के अगेंस्ट और अपार्थाइड यानी रंगभेद के अगेंस्ट हम हमेशा से वी हैव बिलीव्ड क्योंकि हम भी खुद एक कॉलोनियल कंट्री थे सो वी ऑलवेज बिलीव दैट फ्रीडम इज वेरी वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट फॉर एनी कंट्री टू डेवलप. सो दैट्स व्हाई किसी भी कंट्री में अगर इस तरह का हो रहा है हम उसके साथ कोई टाइज नहीं रखते हैं एंड वी आल्सो सपोर्ट द सफरिंग कंट्री. ऑलराइट, सो ये दिस ऑल इज बेस्ड ऑन आवर एक्सपीरियंसेस अंडर द ब्रिटिश रूल. वी वर टॉर्चर्ड, वी वर नॉट लेटिंग वी वर नॉट गिवन द फ्रीडम टू डेवलप. ये सब की वजह से हमने भी आगे से अपना पॉलिसी रखा है दैट एशिया हो, अफ्रीका हो, लैटिन अमेरिका हो, यूरोप हो, कहीं पे भी अगर इस तरह का डिस्क्रिमिनेशन हो तो इंडिया जो है हमेशा उसके अगेंस्ट स्टैंड लेगी. रेशियल डिस्क्रिमिनेशन की नींव जो है वो वहां से पड़ी जब महात्मा गांधी ने साउथ अफ्रीका में रंगभेद का सामना किया एंड अपार्ट फ्रॉम दैट आल्सो इन साउथ अफ्रीका ये जो अपार्थाइड का प्रैक्टिस है ये बहुत दिन तक चलता रहा. राइट, एंड इंडिया हैज सिग्निफिकेंटली पार्टिसिपेटेड दैट एंड इंडिया हैज नेवर एवर टॉलरेटेड और प्रैक्टिस्ड रेशियलिज्म इन इट्स ओन डोमेन आल्सो. ओके, सो these three things India stands by its principles. It is always against colonialism, it is always against imperialism, and it is always against apartheid, that is racialism. Okay, the fourth one is avoidance of force for settlement of international dispute. India has always believed in peaceful coexistence. India has always believed in non-violence. क्योंकि हम सत्याग्रह और अहिंसा में बिलीव रखते हैं. We believe that going into wars is not a solution. Okay, तो जहां तक हो सकता है हम चाहते हैं कि force avoid हो, war avoid हो, aggression avoid. We should not use force or aggression because that does not do any good but rather brings destruction to our own country as well. All right, so India's cherished values of satyagraha and ahimsa have been accorded a very high place and pride in acting the guiding principle of India's foreign policy. So given that there exists a comprehensive framework of pacific settlement of international disputes, बहुत तरीके हैं जो हम इंटरनेशनल डिस्प्यूट को सुलझा सकें. ये पार्ट ऑफ इंटरनेशनल लॉज है, शायद आप आगे चल के अगले सेमेस्टर में करेंगे. सो इंटरनेशनल लॉ में कहीं ना कहीं 5-6 तरीके दिए गए हैं हाउ टू रिजॉल्व इंटरनेशनल डिस्प्यूट थ्रू मीडिएशन, नेगोशिएशन, गुड ऑफिसेस, एडजुडिकेशन, arbitration. So they are part of UN Charter as well, as well as part of international law. So the parties who are in a dispute, they need to give preference for the use of these methods rather than going all out for war. That is what India believes. Of course, with the changing notion of international relations, there have been minor changes where India has to assert itself by use of force as well. But India has never been the initiator of violence. Okay, it may or may not avoid the situation, but it has never been the initiator. So the principle is always use of non-violence as far as possible. And then there is a belief in ideals which are enshrined in UN Charter. Now, because India was the only colony before independence, India was the only colony which was invited to San Francisco to sign the UN Charter. ओरिजिनल सिग्नेचरी है इंडिया. इंडिया वांटेड कि इस तरह का एक संगठन जो है वो रहे दुनिया में सो दैट पीस कैन बी मेंटेन्ड एंड दैट्स व्हाई till today India has firmly showed its faith in UN Charter. It believes in United Nations and support all of its functioning. Then next principle is equitable and egalitarian international order. India has always believed there has to be equitability in the sense जब आप independent हो जाते हैं there is a basic level of equality and respect which all the nations and states should receive from the other nations or from the world. All right, and that's why India believes in a very egalitarian international order. और इस egalitarianism और इक्वालिटी को मद्देनजर रखते हुए ही इंडिया ने कई बार रिफॉर्म्स के लिए भी प्रेस किया है यूएन में एज फार एज सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल इशू इज कंसर्न दैट रिप्रेजेंटेशन शुड बी गिवन टू अदर नेशंस एज वेल जो कि एशिया और अफ्रीका में है. सो टू मेंटेन पीस दे थिंक दैट सारी रीजन्स को इक्वल रिप्रेजेंटेशन और इक्वालिटी मिलना चाहिए. सो प्रिंसिपल वन ऑफ द मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट प्रिंसिपल ऑफ आवर फॉरेन पॉलिसी इज इक्विटेबल एंड egalitarian इंटरनेशनल ऑर्डर. जो एक्जिस्टिंग वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर है वो कहीं ना कहीं फेवर करता है यूरोपियन और वेस्टर्न कंट्रीज को. दैट्स व्हाई इंडिया कीप्स आस्किंग फॉर अ न्यू वर्ल्ड ऑर्डर सो दैट इट कैन बी इक्विटेबली और profit generating for the Asian and African countries as well. Okay, then next principle is faith in ideal of world peace. जैसा कि हमने बताया इंडिया एक बहुत ही हाईली आइडियलिस्टिक एस्पिरेशन के साथ जीती है. एक आइडियल है उनका कि वर्ल्ड पीस मेंटेन रहे. सो किसी तरह के वॉर में वो साथ देना पसंद नहीं करते हैं और कोई अगर इस तरह के वॉर्स और एग्रेशन में अगर इन्वॉल्व हो तब भी इंडिया टाइम एंड अगेन इट हैज रिफ्रेन्ड टू हेल्प देम. सो देयर वन मेजर प्रिंसिपल इज द आइडियल ऑफ वर्ल्ड पीस. दे डोंट वांट वॉर एंड वायलेंस टू बी द सॉल्यूशन ऑफ एनी प्रॉब्लम. ओके, आठवां जो प्रिंसिपल है व्हिच इज वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट इज बायलैटरल फ्रेमवर्क ऑफ डिस्प्यूट सेटलमेंट. इंडिया ऑलवेज बिलीव्स दैट डायलॉग्स एंड टॉक्स बिटवीन टू कंट्रीज कैन रिजॉल्व एनी काइंड ऑफ प्रॉब्लम. ऑलराइट, एंड फॉर एग्जांपल ड्यूरिंग द इंडिया पाकिस्तान इश्यूज आल्सो India always believes that bilateral framework यानी कि सिर्फ दो लोगों के बीच में बातचीत जो है without interference from any other country can resolve the conflict in a much better manner rather than other bigger powers joining the issue. That's why they have been always pushing the multilateral framework and they think कि ज़्यादा लोगों के involvement से war होने का खतरा बढ़ जाता है. Plus it is not good in the sense that then you'll be forced to take sides. So that way they always believe in talks, in dialogues. There should be open dialogues and bilateral talks between two countries who have a dispute or conflict amongst themselves. Right? Then there is disarmament. Disarmament is also very important part of our foreign policy. From day one we have been talking about यूनिवर्सल डिसआर्ममेंट इन द वर्ल्ड. आर्म्स रिडक्शन की बात, वेपन्स रिडक्शन की बात इंडिया ने हमेशा से कोल्ड वॉर टाइम से रखी है. तब से ही वो बिलीव करते हैं कि डिसआर्ममेंट जरूर करना चाहिए. किसी भी कंट्री का हद से ज्यादा वेपन्स रखना या मिलिट्री पे कुछ ज्यादा ही स्पेंड करना इज नॉट प्रॉपर. इट्स अ थ्रेट टू एवरीवन. सो वन इंडिया बिलीव्स इज टोटल एलिमिनेशन ऑफ वेपन्स. जितने भी डिस्ट्रक्शन के वेपन्स हो सकते हैं चाहे वो केमिकल हो, बायोलॉजिकल हो, न्यूरोलॉजिकल हो, गैसियस वेपन्स हो, जितने भी हो सकते हैं उनका एलिमिनेशन हो ताकि वॉर की गुंजाइश कम हो जाए. दूसरा, इंडिया ऑलवेज बिलीव्स दैट देयर हैज टू बी अ ड्रास्टिक कर्टेलमेंट इन द क्वांटिटी ऑफ न्यूक्लियर एंड हाइड्रोजन बॉम्ब्स. न्यूक्लियर आर्म्स जो है वो सबसे खतरनाक होते हैं, ऑल ऑफ अस नो, एंड उनका पोजेशन इज इक्वली डेंजरस फॉर द लाइव्स ऑफ अदर पीपल. दैट्स व्हाई इंडिया बिलीव दैट disarmament is very very important. ये जो stock रखते हैं, this is the third point India always talks about, that the stock of conventional weapons, the quantity, it has to be decided and no country should be allowed to stock them or to keep them for a very long time. So disarmament policy is very important. It has always been very vocal about it, that we believe in arms reduction, we believe in disarmament, right? So these are the 9 principles of foreign policy. The last section would be objectives. क्या goals हैं India's foreign policy के, क्या ऐसे objective है जो India पूरा करना चाहती है अपने foreign policy के माध्यम से. So I'm not going to get into the details, however, I'm going to tell you, and these are very easy to understand. Okay, so first is protection and promotion of national interest. Now this is very common to all the countries. First and foremost, हर जो country होती है वो अपने हित की रक्षा करना चाहेगी. The national interest is the first interest it would try to protect. Even if we believe in peaceful coexistence, even if we believe in maintaining peace and avoiding war, but still what we would want is the peaceful coexistence for everyone, yet protecting ourselves. So national interest जो होता है वो कहीं ना कहीं protection and promotion of national interest is the first objective or goal of any foreign policy. So India's also goal is the same. Second is autonomy of independent decision making. Now autonomy of independent decision making का ये मतलब है कि इंडिया कभी भी क्योंकि किसी के साइड नहीं लिया है, इंडिया believes in its own opinions. That's why they respect when other countries are taking their own decision. They also respect that in our internal matters or in our decisions, no other country should have influence. So even if the bigger fishes are always trying to press them, but the ideas and opinions of India have always been for and by itself. They don't want to be influenced by anyone. They want their autonomy and freedom to be intact. They don't want to be guided. Okay, so that's why the reason is that we had a policy of non-alignment. Because अगर हम align कर जाते तो we would have been guided by that particular country and its principles. But at the same time, we are not guided by it because that's why we have our own independence maintained till now. Okay. Now, third one is economic drivers of foreign policy. There have been various, economic. There are so much disturbance. Okay. Right. Economic drivers, as in, of course, economic challenges are enormous. किसी भी country को develop करने के लिए अपनी economy को बढ़ाना बहुत जरूरी है, and that is what has been the driving force. So in the back, obviously, economically, competition is always there with other countries. So India has been working, and Indian foreign policy is also worked out in such a manner which can facilitate and maximize our, it should bring back economic benefits to our country. All right. And of course, the new objective would be a global counter-terror framework. Terrorism has been a challenge for all the countries, and having deadly neighbors, we have also, it remains a challenge for India to, have a very sound foreign policy so that we don't hurt anybody's sentiment, yet we can secure ourselves. So, global counter-terror framework has been something which is very critical in our foreign policies. We have always decried and defied ideas of terrorism. We have never promoted any terrorist activities, yet it has been happening, and in the global community, we have extended all our help and support to eradicate, the financially or materially or moral support we have always given to all those countries which are suffering and also which are working in evolving any kind of strategy to erase or eradicate this kind of a problem. They are working on de-terrorizing the world, right? And then there would be equitable environment. Now these are the new concerns. If you see that when we were independent, these concerns on terrorism and environment perhaps not there. They have been added up now, and they are pretty much cause of concern. The security issue or the environment issue is bigger than any other challenge right now. So now things have moved from maintenance of political relationships with other nations. The foreign policy also has to take into account how to balance itself on the basis of taking into account these kind of issues. So these are the new challenges which are up against us, and we have to work our policies in a manner whereby we can satisfy the needs of others as well. So in that sense, our one new objective is environmental protection. India has been working. It has always participated in all kinds of world summits. It has shared the responsibility. It also believes that it is a global responsibility, and it's doing whatever is possible financially and environmentally, whatever is possible. There are global negotiations where India has always been a participant, and it is trying its level best for environmental protection. And then we have non-discriminatory technology transfer regimes. Now, technology is something which, even if we do not acknowledge, we believe that technology is also one very important source of power. Any country which has a technological edge will have a certain amount of control on all other countries, and that's why India has a profound objective in its foreign policy, that is non-discriminatory nature of technology transfer regimes. As a matter of fact, right from where the non-proliferation treaty, that is NPT, came into existence, India has found itself in the vortex of vociferous opposition to such discriminatory regimes. India considers NPT and several other technology controlled regimes of the West as basically technology denial practices. So it has been saying that it should be open to everyone. If it is denied to some countries because they have already captured and controlled those technological nuances, now they are not letting the developing world experience that, right? So they don't want anybody to become a nuclear power now. So that's what India has time and again been saying, that why are you stopping us from testing, from transferring technologies when you have already all those technology in your disposal? So that's the problem. So their objective is, if the technology transfer has to be stopped, it has to be done for the wider community, not only for few countries. All right. Last objective would be diaspora and soft power. Now, for the last few years, India's foreign policy, the shape of India's foreign policy is changed, and it has gained prominence everywhere outside as well. By outside, I mean in all other nations. So this is what we say diaspora, because diaspora is a crucial, a number of people who are present in different parts of world and representing India, or let's say modern India. So this probably the idea of using diaspora to enhance its foreign policy abilities or capabilities. This has been a brainchild of today's Prime Minister Narendra Modi, and they have incorporated Indian diaspora. They effectively make them aware of their own values of motherland, and that's how they can contribute to the foreign policy as well. And so somewhere, India is now using its soft power to establish itself and its reputation, so people don't think of India anymore as a land of elephants, monkeys, and snake charmers, but rather take them more seriously. In that respect, we have been celebrating. As an example, we can see that we have been practicing yoga for many years and decades. But first time we see that International Day of Yoga is observed on June 25th, or October 2nd is observed as International Day of Peace and Nonviolence. They are indicators of the fact that India has been accepted largely as a growing superpower, and also it's showcasing its value system, its belief system. So it's kind of exerting a soft power across the globe. So we also know that India as an emerging power is not only militarily but emotionally very stable, but their idealist vision, which believes in maintaining a constant peace and peaceful coexistence amongst its neighbors of the different states has forced them to take this course. So rather than emerging as a very hard part where we have technology and military might, India is emerging as a soft part. It can exert its existence, which can assert itself and establish itself as a very, very prominent player in international politics. So this is about India's foreign policy. Before we end, I would also like, I'll just take more 5 minutes, and I would like all of you to take a look. I'll just share the question papers, what kind of questions you may get in the paper. So I would just like to show that to you before we come to the end of our lecture series. So now, if you can see, I'll share my screen. So you can see now, these are a few question papers I have downloaded. Obviously, it's available on the internet as well. You can also take a look. So these are the kind of questions which you get. This is a fifth question from some question paper, which says that critically examine the internal and external factors which influence the making of Indian foreign policy. These are all the determining factors. 8 फैक्टर्स जो हमने अभी डिस्कस किए, वो सारे फैक्टर्स आपको इसमें लिख देने होंगे, ठीक है. एंड देन इफ यू लुक क्लोजली टू दिस क्वेश्चन पेपर, एट दिस क्वेश्चन पेपर, you'll find that the first question is critically examine the classical realism of Morgan. हमने किए थे 6 principles of Morgan, उनके यथार्थवादी सिद्धांत के बारे में, रियलिस्ट सिद्धांत के बारे में हमने डिस्कस किया था. देन देयर इज अ न्यू लिबरलिज्म थ्योरी propounded by Robert Cohen and Joseph Nye. We have major consequences of end of World War. जब शीत युद्ध का अंत हुआ तो क्या क्या उसके प्रमुख कारण क्या थे, दिस ऑल्सो वी हैव डन. व्हाट इज न्यू कोल्ड वॉर, नया नव शीत युद्ध क्या है और उसके प्रारंभ होने के क्या कारण हो सकते हैं, इस पर रोशनी डालने के लिए कहा गया है. देन सिक्स्थ क्वेश्चन इज डिस्कस इंडियाज रोल इन नॉन अलाइनमेंट मूवमेंट एंड व्हाट इट्स रेलेवेंस टुडे. टुडे ओनली वी हैव डिस्कस्ड, यू कैन ऑलवेज एलैबोरेट अपॉन दैट. देन सेवेंथ क्वेश्चन इज एक्सप्लेन द फैक्टर्स व्हिच मेड इंडिया एन इमर्जिंग पावर इन कंटेम्परेरी टाइम्स. ऑलराइट, आठवां क्वेश्चन हमेशा शॉर्ट नोट्स का होता है. यहाँ शॉर्ट नोट्स में आपके हैं एक अप्रोच जो कि है फेमिनिस्ट पर्सपेक्टिव. देन कोलैप्स ऑफ सोवियत यूनियन, क्या क्या कारण थे, डोमेस्टिक एक्सटर्नल हम लोगों ने डिस्कस किया है. यूरोपियन यूनियन एज अ पार्ट वी डिस्कस, इमर्जिंग पावर में से एक है. देन व्यूज ऑन केनेथ वॉल्स ऑन रियलिज्म, जो कि न्यू रियलिज्म ही कह सकते हैं, ये हमने डिस्कस किया है. तो ये 4 शॉर्ट नोट्स हैं. यहाँ आगे देखते हैं क्वेश्चन पेपर की तरफ. ये दूसरे क्वेश्चन पेपर के सिर्फ शॉर्ट नोट्स हैं. शॉर्ट नोट्स में दता यानी कि जो पीरियड हम कहते हैं 70s के बाद 1990 तक, वो पीरियड जो है जब कोल्ड वॉर जो है वो स्टेबल हो गया था, दो वर्ल्ड वाज डिवाइडेड इनटू 2 ग्रुप्स, बट देन देयर वाज रिलेटिवली पीस. और हमने ये दता फेज जो है, जो 3 फेजेस डिस्कस किए थे कोल्ड वॉर के, उनमें से एक फेज है बीच वाला. सो दिस यू कैन राइट. देन कॉजेस ऑफ सेकंड वर्ल्ड वॉर, क्या क्या रीजन थे कि सेकंड वर्ल्ड वॉर हुआ, वी हैव डिस्कस्ड. न्यू लिबरलिज्म यानी नव उदारवादी की सोच, दिस इन अप्रोचेस वी डिड. एंड परहैप्स दिस इज द लास्ट क्वेश्चन पेपर. इस पे किस तरह के क्वेश्चन है, अगेन रियलिज्म पे फिर क्वेश्चन है, एक फेमिनिज्म पे क्वेश्चन है, कोल्ड वॉर पे है, फेजेस ऑफ कोल्ड वॉर, 3 फेजेस होते हैं. देन डिटरमिनेंट्स ऑफ इंडिया फॉरेन पॉलिसी, जो अभी हमने किए हैं. देन डू यू थिंक पॉलिसी ऑफ नॉन अलाइनमेंट इज स्टिल रेलेवेंट, अगेन नॉन अलाइनमेंट पे क्वेश्चन है. देन व्हाट आर द मेजर चैलेंजेस इंडिया फेसेस एज इमर्जिंग पावर. सो अगर आप मोटे तौर पे देखें, अगर आपका 3 यूनिट्स में डिवाइडेड है सिलेबस, तो उसमें से मेजरली एवरी यूनिट probably has 2 to 3 questions each. All right, so that's how you have to prepare, but most of the weightage is from the second unit. So second unit or first unit is ज़्यादा concentrate कीजिए, and you will be able to attend 4 questions, so you have 8 questions then. Okay, all right, so that brings us to the end of the series of lectures. And जो मटेरियल है वो आप SOL के जो रिटन मटेरियल है उसको भी कंसल्ट कर सकते हैं, और एल्स सिलेबस में दिए गए रीडिंग लिस्ट के हिसाब से, टॉपिक के हिसाब से भी कोई भी किताब आप रेफर कर सकते हैं. ऑल ऑफ द बुक्स आर गुड एंड दे कैरी जनरल अंडरस्टैंडिंग इनटू इंटरनेशनल रिलेशंस, so that should not be a problem. All right, and then whatever possible material and question paper, if possible, I will also upload it with the help of the admin. All right, okay, thank you, all the very best to each one of you, and yes, thank you very much for your time. Okay.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.